Welcome to the Code with Jason meetup. Tonight we're going to be working on SaturnCI some more. I will share my screen and get us going. So every time I start one of these sessions, it's been long enough since the last one that I don't remember what I was working on. So let's try to remind myself, because I usually try to leave a loose end hanging so I can easily be reminded. I think what I was doing was I was changing a certain navigation structure. Um, and I would show you, except I have this error. Let me see if I can stash everything, and then maybe I can show what I'm doing. Okay. Yeah. So I don't know if both you guys are up to speed on the latest stuff, but originally when you would do a test run, you couldn't see any of this log output or any of the test output until the run was completely finished. There was like no evidence that anything was happening whatsoever. And that was obviously not good. So I wanted to get streaming going, log streaming and test output streaming. And I have a certain version of both of those working now. Um, if you start a test run, you can sit here and hit refresh repeatedly, and the logs will start coming through in real time, which wouldn't happen before. But they're not they're not like streaming automatically. You have to refresh the page. So what I want to do next is to have them stream automatically, but there's an obstacle. Excuse me. There's an obstacle to that, which is that I have these job 1 and job 2 links because there's parallel builds happening, but they're both in the same pane. It just scrolls like job 1 is up at the top and job 2 is further down. And if you think about it, like if I want to have the output keep adding at the bottom the same way like tail dash F does, how would that make sense if I have two jobs? Can't really have two jobs in the same pane and have that scrolling, streaming behavior and have everything make sense. So this brings us to the change I'm making, which is instead of being two things in the same pane and it just scrolls to a different spot, I'm going to make these actually two separate tabs, and each tab has its own isolated pane. So that's the change that I'm working on. All right, so get stash pop. Action show could not be found for builds controller. So let's see what that's all about. Builds controller. And indeed, there's no action show. I think I want to take it from the jobs controller. Oops. Okay, couldn't find build without an ID. I think. Oh, okay. Well, I don't know why that is. Because we do have a build ID. It's right here. So I don't know why build ID is apparently missing. So I have this pry here. I'll refresh params. Okay, apparently it's just under ID. But I would think that that would be the job ID because this is the, well, no, hang on a second. Builds controller. Oh, okay. I might have confused myself. Okay. Now we need a template for builds controller show. Hang on, I might be confused. I am confused. Let's see. What happens if I just go to project, this project? Okay. Yeah, I need a show template for a build. So I have a show template for a job. Okay. App, views, builds, show. This might be harder than I thought it was going to be. Okay. Missing partial builds test output. Okay. Okay. Let me see if I can explain what I'm doing because I feel like people might get lost if I don't. Okay. So here's how everything is with my changes stashed and everything's working. So when I click on system logs, you can see the URL says project slash project ID slash build ID slash system logs. Click on this project slash project ID slash build ID slash events. Same thing, but slash test output. Same thing, but slash test report. So everything, you're always at a certain build and you're always on a certain tab. Like even if I go to a different build, oh, interesting. If I go to a different build, it's just project slash project ID slash builds slash ID. Okay. And I think that is happening because I have this default partial. The default partial, the default tab here is test output. So that's when we go from build to build, it lands on test output.
What happens when you click job one and job two? Like, is that a object, an entity of some sort, or is it literally just an anchor on the page?
It is a database record, but the link just goes to an anchor on the page. Like you can see in the URL bar, it added the anchor.
Okay.
So I want to change it so it's not an anchor, but it's actually part of the URL. And what do I want to happen when you click on one of these? I guess I want it to go to the first job. Yeah. So I think we want a redirect. So when we just land on this build, we want to redirect to this build's first job. Okay. So we want to go to this path. Oops. Redirect to job detail content project build job path. That's a real mouthful. We want to go to the build. Oh, yeah, okay. We don't have a slug, but I think we want that to be default partial. Let's give that a whirl and see what happens. Wow, it at least didn't give an error. I can go from build to build. What happens if I click like job two? Okay, I haven't updated these links yet. What if I go to one of these? Oh, interesting. That like seems to work. Okay. And then if I run the tests, Okay, get some failures, unsurprisingly. Okay, so this is a little hard for me to look at. I'm going to take these tests one by one. Let's first go to spec, filter spec. Okay, missing required keys ID. Builds controller line 15. Okay. Okay. Um, no route matches show, build ID, blah, blah, blah. ID nil. Okay. Okay. It looks like maybe the job ID is nil. Probably because these builds don't have a job. Let's see. A build has many jobs. So I think I'm going to have to end up doing this a lot where I give a job to a build. So I think I want to add a with build, sorry, a with job trait to the build factory. And I will ask ChatGPT to do that tedious labor for me. Add a with job trait to this factory. Okay. Goes inside the factory definition. Okay. So I think I can do this. Oops. Let's see if that makes any difference when we run these tests. Actually, you know what? We shouldn't predicate all this on the idea that the build has a job because we might create a new job, like when we do a new run. Sorry, we might do a new build. And at the beginning of that build's life, it doesn't have any jobs. Or does it? Maybe it does. Yeah, I guess it does. Okay, maybe that is a safe assumption that a build will always have at least one job. It wouldn't make sense if it didn't. Okay, well, I talked myself out of that one, I guess. Okay, so adding a job still leaves us with problems. Different error though. It says expected not to find text, filter commit, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I have no idea what that's about. Let's do show browser equals true. And we'll do just one of these tests. Okay, what's it trying to do? Select main from branch name and click apply. Okay, I'm going to put a binding.pry in here so it can pause and we can kind of see what's going on. Okay, let's go to main and click apply. Yeah, it's not working. Okay. Let's see why. So where does this form even go to? Do we have like a filter form or something like that. Not that I saw. So where does this submit to? Oh, I know. I can search for apply. Okay. So project build path is where it apparently submits to. Project build path. So builds controller, I suppose. Is it builds controller? Project build path. Method get. Okay. Now, when I come here and I click apply, okay, the URL doesn't change. Okay. I'm going to see something. If I look at the network thing on the console here, okay, it goes to projects, builds. Okay, so to me that looks like the build show page. Yeah. And we kind of changed that because now instead of when we're on the test output page, for example, we're not on the builds controller anymore. We're on the jobs controller. Yeah, so maybe we want that. Maybe we want it to submit to the jobs controller. Oh yeah, we can see here. Um, the build list filters by this branch name param. Yeah, so we want to submit to jobs show. But what is that path? I think it's this. I wish this name wasn't so wordy. Job detail content, project build job path. Maybe we can rename that, but I'm not going to worry about that just yet. Okay. And it takes a project, a build, a job, and a partial name. Man, this is getting crazy. Okay, build list. So I want to look at the show action here. Builds show. Okay. What were we after? Okay, the partial name, also known as the current tab name. Okay. But where does this list page come into the picture? Oh, it's here. Okay. So I'm going to do this current tab name, so that I can go here and say current tab name. Oh, except it's not an instance variable. There. Okay. And where does job come from? And can we even be sure that that's real? It might not even be there. Let's find out, I guess. Yeah, it says ID nil. We must not have a job. So I think I'll go job equals job.find params ID. Okay. Now, does this work? It looks like maybe, maybe not, can't tell yet. Okay. It looks like it does work, but there's definitely some cleanup I want to do. But let me see if this test passes now. Okay, we get one failure instead of three, I guess. Still on line 15. Interesting. Okay, let's see what's going on with that. Oh, I accidentally deleted too much. Maybe that's why. Okay, apparently that's why. Okay, so the filter test works again, but I'm not happy with the code behind it. First of all, the build belongs to the job. So why can't I just say, I could say build equals job.build, but that seems kind of, well, I was going to say that seems kind of dumb, but maybe it's not. Okay,
Isn't it
this
the other way
testing.
around?
Um, a build
Jobs
has many
belong to
jobs.
build. Yeah, right. So a job belongs to build.
Job belongs to build.
So you'd be like build.jobs. Build has many jobs. Isn't that what you just said? Or am I,
Build has many jobs. Job belongs to build. I don't know what I said a minute ago.
you said the opposite
Oh,
and
okay.
you wrote the opposite, right? Because that job, well, I guess it would work both ways. Never mind.
Okay. Okay, so that addresses that test. This is like a really complicated change. I wish there was an easy way to like break it into smaller parts, but I'm not sure if there is. Okay, more failures, not surprising. Okay, let's go to delete build spec and see why exactly that one's going wrong. Okay, another route issue. Builds controller line 15. Okay. And the job ID seems to be nil.
You're likely going to have that same error across all of the previous build actions, right? Because now they depend on the job ID.
Yeah. Okay. I'll change this. Did I change my build factory? Yeah. Okay. So I'll do build with job. Let's see if just that much takes care of the problem. No, sir. Okay, interesting. Now we have this request that's getting caught. Okay, unregistered request, delete, blah blah blah. Okay, so I'm stubbing a request. I don't see anything that's like specific to any particular record or anything like that. V2 droplets and then some droplet ID. Hmm.
Do you have to pass the ID to the stub? Because it just,
I don't know. That would be I don't know what the explanation would be for that because I wasn't doing it before.
we didn't have an ID before.
But this is a droplet ID as opposed to a, well,
What's
when
the
you say
job
we didn't
ID?
have an ID before, what exactly do you mean?
Well, I'm looking at this with minimal knowledge, but it sounds like we're trying to delete a job, right? So if you look at the stub request, it has a job, what I think is the job ID at the end of it in the error message, but I don't see it on line 7. I don't know if that's meaningful or not, but
Let's see. Okay, was test says delete build. Let's look at the actual test cases. So we visit project build path and we click on delete. Okay, so that'll be in the builds controller. Destroy. And then, yeah, there's delete job machines. Let's take a look at that. Okay, that delegates to delete job machine on job. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So before it was never getting to delete job machine because there were no jobs to delete. Yeah, so let's see. Hmm. Before, I wonder if it was even making any requests at all. Okay, yeah, it's making a request for that job machine ID. Okay. Yeah, so looks like you're right, Ryan. This needs to be like slash. I'm actually going to do this in a different way. I'm going to say let job equals create job. I'm going to say job dot job machine ID. And everywhere where I have a build, I'll do job dot build. I'll start with just that one. Let's see if we get anything different now. Mm-hmm. Okay, that works. Yeah, I think the reason why I couldn't explain, Ryan, why we didn't need the ID before is like it was wrong. It just was never even coming into the picture because there were no jobs that were invoking this call.
yeah, that makes sense.
Um, okay, so this one's not going to work. So I'll have to fix this job.build, job.build.id. There we go. Let's see if that works. It does not. Missing required keys ID. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so when the branch is not the only branch, we're creating another build. We click on delete. Hmm, I don't understand what's going wrong with this one. Builds controller line 15 again.
I think it's the same thing. I looked away there for a second, but if you're on the test, you were creating a build, not a job, right? Are you referencing you
Oh yeah,
create
we can't
build,
land on this build because it doesn't have a job.
they're not associated. The job that you create in the setup isn't probably doesn't get connected to this build that you've created here.
I don't think
Although I'm
it's
not actually
supposed to.
sure. I don't actually think it matters because you changed everything to job.build, right?
Yeah, this is like The point of this build is it's a separate build. I think for some reason, like when I was first writing this, it didn't behave right. It behaved right when there was just one and only one build in the whole database, but when you had multiple, there was different stuff going on, and so I needed to cover that case too. So that's what this one's about. Um, I want to do it like that in this case. Let's see if that gives us anything different. Okay, that works.
I
Okay.
guess I didn't understand then what you just meant when you said it didn't need to be associated, because isn't that what with job does, is creates a job associated with the build? Or am I misunderstanding how that factory works?
You're not misunderstanding how the factory works. I think maybe I haven't made the purpose of the test clear enough.
Okay.
Um, branch is not the only branch. I don't know why I worded it like that. It, I think it should be build is not the only build.
Well, in any case, I wasn't even looking at the context. I just looked at the create action and immediately said, all right, well, you've changed the route. So like every time you have a build, you have to have a job for this to work. But I didn't
Right.
even actually look at what the context was, which was my bad.
Well, let's see if this is any clearer to you. So when the deleted build is not the only build, it removes the deleted build. So we create this other build and then we delete the build we're interested in and we expect it to be gone. Hmm.
Um, but I'm not sure that actually expect not to have content. But you don't actually assert that the other one exists. So like, what are you proving?
Um, it's like the point of this test was like just to assert that, okay, let me see. You know what I think it might have been? Like when I wrote this test and I wrote just enough code to make it pass, I think maybe I did like build.destroy all or something like that, because that would make this pass. But then I had to be more specific. It's like, no, we need to force it to delete the right job. And so we're asserting that, hmm, no, maybe that's not it either.
I mean, I think I understand the use case. I guess I'm questioning the validity of the test, right? So you have two jobs and you want to say, all right, if I delete one job, it doesn't delete the other,
I think that was not
right?
the original intention of the test, but maybe the original intention of the test was dumb. And maybe I should change the test to be smarter.
Yeah, and when I said that, I actually worded that incorrectly, because it's right when there's multiple builds and you delete a build, you don't delete all builds, right? Just the build in question.
Yeah, let's maybe do this. Okay, so it removes the deleted build and it does not remove the other build. Expect the page to have the content of the um,
Other build dot commit. Yeah.
uh,
Right. That's sort of where I was thinking, is that makes more sense.
I think so. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for that because I think this is a little better now. And maybe we can do this. Okay, great. Okay, so got to fix this. This will be job.build.id, same there and there. I'm guessing that will not work.
You just need the job ID in the stub. At least I thought you did.
It worked. What if I comment out this stub? Okay, I don't understand. Context 404. 404 of what? Oh, I see. The deletion attempt returns a 404 is what I was saying. Oh, I see. So like even if the API doesn't do the right thing, it's still. Oh yeah, this is the case for like the build has already been deleted, and so DigitalOcean returns 404. That's much clearer. But for some reason, it's like not even making that request. And that's surprising. Put a binding.pry here. Okay. So it clearly gets here. Oh, maybe it's because we have this already.
I'll test that up at the top of the file. I think you just did a blog post on that.
I sure did. So I think I'll do this. Context build has not already job machine still exists on DigitalOcean. Okay. And in that scenario, we want to stub the request to return a 200. And here, where this a little differently, job machine does not still exist on DigitalOcean. We make it return a 404. Oh, I think it was oh yeah, never mind, never mind. Okay, let's see what happens now. Well, I guess if all that works, then it'll just pass, which doesn't tell us anything. So how do we see the 404? Maybe we can do this. Oh, well, that's weird. It didn't even get there. Okay, Job Machine does not still exist on DigitalOcean. Okay, so it didn't get there. Line 50. Yeah, okay. Okay, so it gets here, but then it doesn't get to the line after that. Interesting. Okay, I'm going to do this. I'll manually run this line here. Okay, it gives a 404 error. Okay, now we can be sure that this test is doing what we're meaning it to. Okay, great. I feel good about that.
Quick question, Jason.
Uh-huh.
So I know you and I have talked in the past about trying to get it to fail. And in this case, you just sort of confirm that the data was right versus actually seeing it be read. Is there any, do you have any thought on that?
Oh yeah, good
Like, is it just
question.
easier in this case to just sort of walk through the test and say, hey, instead of trying to go through the trouble of finding the failing case?
So delete job machine. Um, we could, okay.
I mean, I'm not asking you to make it red. I'm just asking why you chose to do it the way you did it.
Yeah, so I'm working on figuring out how to explain that. So we could make it red by commenting out this line, or apparently not. Oh yeah, because that's
You
not
make
the
it red,
thing that deletes it.
it'd be the first one.
Yeah, so delete job machines and then build.destroy. Okay. Yeah, so we could comment out this, and then if I'm not mistaken, the test will fail. Yeah, it fails. Um, oh, and look at this. It rescues this droplet kit error. So let's do this. And will that make it fail? Yeah, that does make it fail. Okay. So that exercise that I went through just now, where I removed this code that catches the 404 and basically just like swallows it so the code could proceed, that's that's the behavior that needs to be there in order for the test to pass. Um, and I guess the reason I didn't make it fail just now is because I thought it was a safe assumption to assume that this part was still working the way it should. But what was not a safe assumption anymore was to assume that my request stubbing was still working right.
Right.
Yeah, so I think that was my thinking there.
Thanks.
Okay, so it looks like we're down to a relatively small number of failing tests now. Okay, I'll go to a build navigation spec. Looks like we're missing a job. Okay, so what's this first build and second build stuff all about? Okay, so I think these builds just need jobs. Let's see if that takes care of the issue. Apparently so. Okay.
How do you have confidence in that?
In what? That
Um,
test that I just touched?
yeah, I mean, I I get quickness of adding with job, right? That's where I would have gone to. Uh, but how are you like, again, you didn't see red before seeing green and you're retouching a test. Like we don't know that adding with job is actually testing what you think without that.
Hmm.
Um, I was surprised that the test passed, which is why I'm asking.
Oh, okay.
Um, but that said, I didn't look that closely. I just, given everything else we've done, I assumed you'd have to pass a job ID somewhere.
Um, well, I think I was already under the belief that this test was valid before any of these changes, and adding a job to this build like doesn't I didn't think it would like fundamentally change anything. And so to me it seemed like extremely unlikely that adding a job to this build would invalidate these tests.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have enough domain knowledge at this point, so let's just move on.
Okay. Um, all right, so we have builds, build list, system, active link. Okay. Okay, we have build one and build two. This looks like another case where it probably just needs a job. Okay. And similar story here. I'm confident in the validity of these tests, and I think it's unlikely that adding these jobs will invalidate the tests. We do still get a failure somewhere. Okay, this is build status spec. Okay. Okay. With job. Hmm. That did not fix it. Build ID and order index. Okay. Is it possible that whenever I create a job, it makes a new build? It seems like that's probably what's happening. Maybe not though. Okay, the jobs table has an order index. I think that's what we got the error about just now. Yeah, interesting. Build ID order index. Okay. Are there two jobs somehow? Oh, okay, we're creating another job here. Okay. So the jobs have indexes. So we just have to make sure that these job indexes don't conflict. Hmm.
Can you just, do you need the job on line 16 or do you just need to set the status of the existing job at that point?
Let's see. Why do we create this second job? Oh, because it shows the most current status. So we need a finished job. Yeah. So the first job is running, and then the second job is not running. the second job has passed. And this is to show that it shows the most recent one. Yeah, but that's kind of confusing. So how about we say this? Well, first we have to fix this collision. So I'll do this. Order index equals, oh no, this is no good. Okay, I'm gonna have to do this. Let job, create job. Okay, and then everywhere we have build, I'll have to do job.build. And actually, I shouldn't call this job. I should call this running job. Okay. And then we can call this past job. No, we can call this more recent job. Most recent job. Okay, and here I can put order index running job dot order index +1. I'm going to format this a little more nicely. Okay, and then we expect it to have content, most recent job dot status. I'll be surprised if that works, but let's see. Did not work. Let's see why. Expected to find text past, but it didn't. So I can't parse that output. Let's take a look at it in the browser. Okay, so we have this running job. But then, oh, hang on. No, this other job doesn't seem to be. Oh, it's apparently, I think it's maybe not in the same project. Let's see if that's the issue. Oh, no, it's in the same build even. Hmm.
Can you scroll up on your test file?
Yeah.
Uh,
Project build path. Oh, maybe I didn't mean. No, I did mean to visit that. Build. Oh, the build goes from running to past. How did this test ever work? Oh, I think I fooled myself. Okay, so this job isn't supposed to be a different job. This build is supposed to have one and only job. One and only one job.
right. So back to what I was saying before is if you create if you do build with job or on line 4, you can just create the job, I guess, but you just set the status here, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll do create job, just so I don't have to rename everything right now. I'll do let build equals job.build, and then I'll say job.update, test report, good. That's what makes it finished. or that's what makes it passed rather. Okay, so that works. Then I'm going to change these. Whoops. Okay. Now we can run the entire suite. Okay. Everything passed. And I just want to like do a smoke test in the UI. Everything seems to still work. Okay. And I know it's almost time to wrap up here. I'm going to review the changes before I commit.
Not actually sure what you changed.
A whole bunch of stuff. Let's see. Let's do git diff app. Oh, there. Okay. I'm just gonna scroll through really quick. I don't expect you guys to understand what you're seeing. Let's see if I can explain it. Um, so basically, instead of each, I don't know what you call these things, tabs. Instead of each tab on a build, hmm, instead of the build being like the main thing,
You insert a job in between the build and the tab.
yeah, like it's not now it's oriented around jobs instead of builds.
Right.
The tab
So now
navigation, sorry, what's
you haven't
that?
updated, you haven't actually updated the links, but now theoretically clicking job one or job two will change the URL and therefore the output.
Yeah, although I'll also have to change the way these templates work so that they get scoped to the job.
Right.
Um, okay, so I changed the tab navigation to be job oriented instead of build oriented. Change navigation, no, change tab nav to be oriented around jobs instead of builds. Okay. And I can potentially demonstrate to you guys the log streaming feature. Oh, I see now the light is shining right on my eyes. I can demonstrate the log streaming feature if I catch it at the right time. There's not going to be any output for a little bit until the job machine is ready.
So given
Um,
that change you just made,
mhm.
does the hierarchy still make sense in the UI? Like are system logs, events, test report, and test output above job?
I suppose an argument could be made either way.
I was just, yeah, just curious because it feels it feels backwards when I look at it, but when I think about the domain, it feels right. So it's sort of a conundrum.
Yeah, well, think about it this way. It's like, do I care about job one and everything in it, or do I care about the test output and then the test output for each of the jobs?
I would
I
argue
think
the
it's the
latter,
latter.
or sorry, I would argue the former.
Really?
Well, I'm because like if I'm looking at job one and I just want to be like, all right, I'm trying to debug, like I don't want to have to hit test output job one, system log job one. I just want to be in job one and be able to toggle between the four states.
Maybe you're right.
I'm, I don't know, but just something to think about.
Okay. Well, I suppose experience will tell.
Yeah.
Um, okay. And by the way, we can see the log streaming now. It's at like 23:10:22. If I refresh, it's now at 23:10:29. Not very impressive, but it gives you
Well,
something earlier than it did before.
the last time I saw this, we didn't have any streaming. We had to wait till the end, so that seems like an improvement.
Yeah. And the tests apparently have not started running yet. Okay. So I want to at least try to do one thing before we go. Um, I want to change this job nav. So let's see where that might be. Okay. Yeah. So I think this is actually job container. Maybe it's that. Hmm. I actually don't know. Okay. It goes through the jobs and it outputs a job container, which is this. I don't see a link in here. ASCII job heading. There's no link in there.
What was the yield? Go back to uh, the loop that's calling job container.
Loop that's calling job container. Oh,
You had one other file
oh,
open.
this.
Yeah. What's the ANSI to HTML helper? Not helpful. Okay.
An unhelpful helper. Um,
Yeah.
okay, what's job info? Oh, it's capture yield. Okay. Okay, well what is this? I'll add that and see where that comes out. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, so where the heck are these job one and job two links? Okay, job menu. Let's search for that. Okay, here it is. Okay, so I don't want it to link to where it currently links. I want it to link to the job. So it'll be this same thing here. Okay. Okay, instead of slug, it's going to be, I'm disoriented.
Current tab name?
Yeah, I just don't know where my cursor is.
No.
Okay, there we go. Okay, that might work. Okay, it outputs the whole thing twice. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, And we might not see any like external indicator. Oh, also it's not doing the right job. I'm doing build.jobs.first, but it should just be job. Okay, so when I go between job one and job two, it's a subtle change, but in the URL bar, you can see the job ID change. It's just that in the test output tab, it's going through each of these, but that's not how it should be. Okay. Okay, build show. That's this one. Okay, render current tab name. All right. I don't like how mysterious some of the stuff is, so I'm going to do this. Job, job. Actually, let me get it working first, and then I can mess with that stuff. Okay, so I don't want to do that. I want to do that and that. Let's see if that does what I want. Okay, so there's job one without job two, and there's job two without job one. Okay,
Nice.
and I guess this is redundant now. So we can get rid of the that heading.
I mean, it might be nice to leave it. Otherwise, you really have no
Oh, you have no indicator.
indicator of that it changed unless you happen to be looking at the URL.
Yeah, well, I think maybe the answer to that will be to improve these tabs. So I'll leave
Yeah,
this
just
for
make sure
now.
they're make sure they're highlighted or something.
Yeah, have them behave more like these.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah, okay. Um, and I bet what I just did is going to make all kinds of tests fail, but I'm not interested in fixing those right now. We can save that for the next session. Really need to get some curtains. Okay. To my surprise, all the tests pass. I guess,
I was gonna say I wasn't surprised by that.
yeah, I guess that shouldn't be too surprising, huh?
Unless you happen to be asserting for like job one and job two are in the pane,
Yeah, yeah, good point.
there's probably no test that you need to write some now, but
Yeah, maybe. Okay. Okay. Well, that last part was surprisingly easy. Okay. Well, I want to leave a loose end hanging for next time so that I know what to do. Um, put job output on separate tabs. I think I want to change the styling of these next. So maybe we can say like build show. To do next, change these job links into tabs like the other tabs so you know which job you're on. Okay, that should be a good enough reminder. Well, I'm pretty happy with that. And to review what we did today, we we changed the nav to be oriented around jobs instead of builds. And then we changed the job links from anchors to full page load links. And then next we need to make those behave like tabs. All right. Well, thanks guys for joining me, and I'll see you next time.